Good evening and welcome to the regular city council meeting for the city of St. Peter, Minnesota. It is Monday, March 10th, 2025. At 7 p.m. we are called to order. Would all please rise for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody should have received a copy of the agenda. Are there any revisions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve as distributed?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Next up, approval of the minutes. There is one correction to the council reports on page 6 under where it states that council members Johnson and Sharstrom met with Senator Frentz and Representative Schwartz. They were only able to meet with Representative Schwartz during their visit because the senator was not available, so we're going to make that correction. Are there any other revisions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve as corrected?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We have time on our schedule for visitors. Is there any visitor who'd like to address the council on an agenda item at this time? Hearing none, we have time for general visitor comments. Is there a visitor who'd like to address us on another matter? Hearing none, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins on page 7 and concludes with the resolution on pages 27 through 28. The resolution approving the consent agenda includes the following employee appointments. I'm going to read names only. The titles and wages are indicated within the packet. That would be Jonathan Baer, Beverly Burbach, Tom Tepley, Jim Seward, Johnny Kennedy, Carson Gunderson, Ty Zitzo, Colin Harrison, Cliff Isley, Dean Pirtle, Dale Thorson, Patricia Koch, Tim Mayo, Tobias Twait, and Evan Hinneker. The following licenses will be approved: a temporary 3-2 on sale beer for the Knights of Columbus on April 5th, 2025, a temporary gambling license for the Minnesota Barbecue Society on May 10th, 2025, the credit from Nielsen Blacktopping to the City of St. Peter Streets Maintenance Program for the purchase of screened millings for the price of $9 per ton shall be approved. The following purchases will be approved: Scheidels, sorry, I'm not saying that right.
What's the name of the nursery, Pete?
Shipdell.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Let's see. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a computer issue here. For us, so the nursery, wow, I really am having computer issues. Apologize for my tech issues. Thanks for bearing with me.
That's what you get for going away from the paper.
I know, I should be chopping down some trees. Thank you. Chattel's Nursery Inc. for 294 assorted trees. Schwickert's Tecta America of Mankato for a captive air makeup air unit, as well as the schedule of disbursements for February 20th, 2025 through March 5th, 2025. Is there any discussion of any item on the consent agenda?
Is that about as many trees as we were hoping to get with this purchase? I just saw there was a pretty big range of numbers of trees.
Pete's got this.
Okay, so we're getting close to the end of our last grant that we received during the, from the DNR during the Emerald Ash Borer situation a few years back here. And so we had $50,200, something like that. So in the memo, what we did is we, previously in 23, we received about 400 trees for $50,000. And so we anticipated about the same cost this year going forward. We gave them the options of DNR approved trees, And we asked each to give us a quote of what was available and what they could substitute, and then we would check to see how many of those trees would be able to be used. Out of that, Schichtel came up with the highest number, 270 of the desired trees. There was another 24 that were substitutes that we think the DNR will honor with that. It matches up with the grant. It is the cheapest cost per tree out of the units purchased. And so we recommended going with them again. They were the company that supplied the trees back in 23 when we planted them in 24.
Cool, thank you.
So Pete, generally it's the lowest price per tree on average.
Right.
And it meets the budget requirement or the amount of dollars left within our grant.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Additional questions, Brad?
And Pete, do these trees come with like a 2-year warranty?
They come with a 1-year warranty.
1-year warranty?
Yep.
Additional questions for Pete or anything else on the consent agenda? Hearing nothing further, the resolution is on pages 27 through 28 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpstra.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Thanks, Pete. We have no items of unfinished business tonight. Our first item of new business, I guess Pete's just gonna get comfortable there. We're talking about the DNR Outdoor Recreational Grant Application Request.
You guys may be very familiar with this. I think we've had you approve this the last 2 years going into the spring. We'd like to make application for a $700,000 grant, with 350 of it coming from grant funds and 350 from in-kind match. The application would be for 700. 50% would be in grant totals then. We have already contributed the matching grant amount. We're using our funding mechanisms for Gorman Park on that level. And what we'd like to do is get council authorization to submit for the grant. We'd need a resolution by the council supporting that, and then we would move forward with completing the application by the end of March.
All right, thank you. Anything to add, Todd, or?
No, just this is one of those grants that requires your resolution and your commitment of funding. Not all grants that we apply for do, but this one has traditionally through the DNR.
Questions for Pete or for Todd? Hearing no questions, the resolution authorizing application for the 25 Department of Natural Resources Outdoor Recreational Grant is on page 31 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpstra,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, a 2025 fee schedule modification for our drop-off site. Pete.
Madam Mayor and City Council, as you're aware, we have a variety of different categories for which we charge our customers to use our compost drop-off site. This year we made some modifications based on the recommendation from Ben's office and the permitting side, along with the staff that sits out there and monitors the site. We've had a couple of complaints and concerns from different contractors based on the overall use of the area. And so we've tried to simplify that so that they can use that facility as needed, that wouldn't infringe on their business abilities. As you can see here, the non-resident current utility customer, that would be our group of people that are served by our electric utility, but are not residents of St. Peter. We can treat those like a regular billing customer. They come in, sign up for the service, and then of course Sally and her crew just add it right into the bill, and they continue that service. We have 5 to 10 people that do that on a regular basis that have signed up for that service. You can see the monthly fees there for 25 and for 26, and that would be updated, of course, if we ever get to the previous or the next budget year. We would take the previous numbers out and then install new ones. Non-resident, non-utility customer, we only have a few of those that really want the service where they live outside the city limits. They're not served by us, so billing is the issue here, what we come up with. That takes a little more staff time, so usually what that $600 over a 2-year window would cover is about a 25% increase overall in what we charge our regular customers and our utility customers. Then as a landscaper contractor and as a tree worker, 2 different categories there. This is contractors that come in and use our site to drop materials off. Now, they don't use, or we don't allow them to use our materials. They just need a place to dispose of their materials such as grass or trees or branches. They're licensed for the tree worker and for the grass people. Again, they have to bring materials only from St. Peter, and they can use that site roughly for $100 a year, $200 for the 2-year window. And then entrance stickers will remain the same, $5. So if people want additional stickers for additional trucks, they can buy those at $5 a piece. And then what we added this year was single dumps, small and large. We do have anywhere from 3 to 5 times where somebody will come in that's using something north of town or south of town that says, hey, I've got a load of brush, can I drop it off? And we tell them, yes, you can. If it's pickup size, it's $40, and if it's a dump truck size, it's $80. And so trying to simplify things going forward here. One thing we will be doing this year is, again, running a more consistent operation out there with our cameras and with our staff. We did gain a little bit of compliance towards the end of last year. We did see volumes drop. During the spring and summer, it got out of control a little bit. We started noticing a lot more hauling and requirements. And what that does is it adds cost to our people that are actually using that as a customer or a resident of the compost site. And so once we started monitoring out there a little better, we did see volumes drop. And so our overall goal is allow people that are using our facility and paying for our facility to use that to the strength that they can. For those that shouldn't be there, we'll have somebody watching, telling them that they'll have to turn around. If they do not have a sticker, we will not be taking their debris.
Thanks, Pete.
Yep.
Any questions for Pete? Brad?
On the drop-off site, are we getting new stickers this year?
Yes,
And when would we be expecting those to?
they should be coming out within the next month, I would think.
We're getting the mailing ready and planning to send them out the last week of March. And
Thank
they'll be in a separate envelope that says environmental stickers, so, with a red on the envelope, so hopefully people will see them in their mail.
Great, thank
Okay,
you.
in case the mics didn't pick that up, Sally says they're gonna go out end of March, and the envelopes will be labeled so that people should not miss them,
Right.
but keep an eye on your utility bill for that.
Red sticker on the outside, right, Sally?
Not on the outside of the envelope, no.
Okay,
But there'll be
There's
red
a
printing.
lettering
Red-
that says
red letter.
environmental stickering
gotcha.
enclosed.
Yep.
Okay,
And the
And-
important
inside
que-
is blue.
what's that?
There'll
It'll
be blue stickers.
this year.
I was giving me the most important question is what color is the sticker
Yep.
this year?
And we could maybe announce that in the hot sheet so people know
Sure.
that that's gonna be
In
coming.
the hot sheet, it's in the utility flyer that it
Perfect.
was coming out, so.
Okay. Additional questions for Pete? Hearing nothing further, the resolution authorizing wait, I'm on the wrong page. The resolution adopting modifications to the 2025 municipal fee schedule is on page 34 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis?
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom?
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos?
Aye.
Mayor Noel?
Aye. The resolution is approved. Next up, updated city utilities standard details. Pete?
Madam Mayor and City Council, we have 4 for your consideration today. One is a modification of our street lighting and LED requirements. That was really just modified. It's number 2007. That was really modified with newer part numbers. From time to time, they do change numbers in their inventory as we go forward. The standard overall is pretty much the same. The numbers have changed to help with people that are trying to either develop different areas or have a question about how they should develop with street lighting. 2008 is really a composite pole. It's used in the park system, and that's a new standard that we have. We've used that for a couple of years and thought we better get a standard developed because it is pretty consistent with what we do. Again, that's a part numbers. We supply that to people that are doing different activities or want to plan for donations or a variety of different areas there used in our city parks. 2011 and 2012. 2011 is a load management installation. We're spelling that out. We require that for new home construction. And as a load management requirement, we send that in the building packet. We will make sure that everybody that's building a new home this year in St. Peter gets that information so that we can get those properly wired. 2012 is the electric vehicle meter installation. Standard detail, and that requires the second meter. And what that'll allow us to do in the future is put EV chargers on time of use metering. And I'm available for questions here if you have some.
Thank you. Any questions for Pete? All right, unless Todd has something to add.
I do not.
All right, the resolution adopting city utility standard details number 2007, 2008, 2011, and 2012 appears on page 40 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye. The resolution is approved. Pete, it's your show tonight. We're gonna talk about pool painting proposal.
Right. Madam Mayor and City Council, before you, you have a recommendation to have elevation coatings out of St. Cloud come in, do some sandblasting and painting on our Lindenberg Memorial Outdoor Pool for $101,625. We received two bids. One was at $101,000, one was at $171,000. As you may remember, back in May of 2018, we painted the pool for about $40,000. Very fortunate to have that, and as you know, times have changed. We did budget $90,000 in the equipment certificate for 2023. We had a contractor that you had authorized last year to do the pool painting and did not complete the work. And so, as you know, we had some additional chemical costs this year because that does help with not only the safety of the kids swimming, but it also takes less chemicals when the pool is better maintained. What we're asking tonight is that you approve the dollar amount and the contractor going forward. Our goal would be to get that painted by May 16th, and we hope to have everything ready to roll by mid-May. And we will use equipment certificate funds for that. And the proposal's about $12,000 more than we had allocated for that, so we'll have to look at how we can accomplish that. Either through the equipment certificate, we haven't evaluated that unless Sally has already looked at that. But we might have additional funds in the equipment certificate to make that happen. If not, we would use general fund budget money.
Carrie?
The contractor from last year, was that, do we use their cost to base our estimate off of, or did it just kind of go up by that much?
We kind of
in
took the
here?
averages because we felt we got a really decent price, and I think the contractor realized he couldn't do it for that.
Mhm.
And so he just didn't, he did start the work but never finished.
Okay.
And so we tried to average that out back at 23. We might have been fairly close had we gotten other bids at that time that were, but it was about half of that. Again, we thought we were getting a good deal, but maybe too good.
Thank you.
Brad?
The contractor from last year basically it seemed like he was ghosting the staff to avoid getting it done. What kind of vetting have you done with these contractors, particularly when you selected, to make sure that you don't end up in
We
the
checked
same
with a few
situation?
people to see if their performance, they also do water tanks and other painting jobs, so we feel comfortable that they will provide a good job for us.
Okay, thank you.
How long does this coating normally last, or how often do you
About 5 years.
Okay.
Yep, and so, as you know, we were trying to get something done in 23, 24. That would have been about a 5-year window. You start to see quite a bit of wear and tear, especially during the winter time. You know, our staff makes changes there. They take the pool down to groundwater level usually, and then there's some buffer inside there that the water moves through the drains in our pool. And so we've got some maintenance that does wear quite a bit based on where it's located.
You get ice scrape.
Yep.
additional questions? Hearing nothing further, a resolution awarding the work for repainting the Roy T. Lindenberg Memorial Swimming Pool is on page 43 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, wastewater treatment plant preliminary engineering.
Madam Mayor and City Council, as you're aware, we are in the process of starting our first step of some of the rehabilitation for our wastewater facility. We have hired a construction manager at risk, a CMAR. You'll hear us talking about that probably in some of our workshops going forward. Rice Lake has accepted that position. And what we're looking at now is getting Bolton and Mink on board to do some of the preliminary engineering. It's really important that we have the design started and developed through this summer that would allow us to have a construction manager look at the project and try to make improvements that would hopefully and eventually save us money in the long run for the improvements that are at task. Bolton and Mink has supplied a quote for that work. They've given us 12 good examples of the work that they'll perform. I just want to make sure that you're aware of a couple of them. They come in and they do a layout of the building. They have a nice little machine that comes in and measures all of the concrete structures, the dimensions of the buildings, the slopes, the angles, all of that to look and see if we can provide some efficiencies and designs that can be either modified or improved on. They'll do some detailed scope work. They'll do electric preliminary work. They will identify equipment and sizing options, and that's really important based on what we go to. We'll work with city funding assistance, and as you know, we're on the PFA list right now. We're ranked fairly low because we haven't had much for violations. We just are in a point where equipment's starting to wear out. So that plant has performed exceptionally well for us. We're really happy with the last 20 years of what that facility has produced. They're going to do some hydraulic and flow designs, and that's critical, especially if we go to some of the newer types of treatment that are available, just so that we can make everything work within the existing structure. Adding an additional building is something that we really don't want to do, and we feel we've got enough room there if we can get everything laid out appropriately. And then again, we'll be working with the Clean Water Revolving Fund and the Point Source Implementation Funds. Those are all either grants or loans through the state of Minnesota and the list that we talked about earlier. What we do plan to do is get going on this fairly quick, spending March, April, and May, getting a lot of the detail down, get some work submitted by June 1 to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency for their approval, which would qualify us then to get on the PFA extended list and start working angles to get funding for that. Bolton and Mink predicts that they'll work about 750 hours over the course of the next 3-4 months on this, and that cost will be about $140,000 for preliminary engineering. Once we get that completed and we select a method of how we're going to improve our biosolids treatment, we will come back to you for final design on that with a better scope, and I'm sure you'll hear from us during workshop meetings.
Thanks, Pete. Todd, anything to add before I open up to questions for Pete? Oh, Daryl.
At the end of this process, a selection is gonna have to be made between basically drying biosolids or pressing biosolids, correct? How do you anticipate that discussion to happen and occur, because those are fairly large differences in cost between those two processes? How are we going to,
Sure.
what's Bolton and Mink gonna do to assist us in making that decision as a council?
Well, we've already talked about the two processes that do make a difference in how it can be done. One process is more proactive in trying to treat for the future. And what I mean by the future is we're talking probably 15 to 20 years down the road. As you're aware, with PFAS surfacing, some of the biosolids disposal methods and treatment methods are going to change. They're going to be required to change. Where we're at in our process is that we don't know yet exactly which process we're gonna be required to do, and we'll probably get a pretty good inkling when we get to that determination point with PCA. But we think based on the permit cycles, which are every 5 years through the PCA, it'll be at least 10 years before they make that final decision. At that point, our biosolids treatment process will be about 10 years old. We'll have another 8 to 10 years worth of value left in that equipment. MPCA usually works in permit cycles, like I mentioned, so they may set a target at 15 years that gives us an idea that we're gonna have to change. And then hopefully somewhere between that last permit cycle of 15 and 20 years, we will be deciding again what type of biosolids treatment we will be doing. So what we're gonna do right now is evaluate those processes, see what kind of rate impact it makes for our customers, and then bring that forward to council for discussion and for MPCA to give us feedback that says, you know, if they say you're gonna get it in 10 years, or you're gonna have a change in permit requirements in 10 years, that'll probably drive our decision. So we'll have to do some of those evaluations as we go through this.
So you anticipate sometime maybe this summer having those discussions?
Yes. Yep, I would anticipate June, anywhere between the end of May, all of June, July.
Thank you. Any additional questions?
Well, I have a
Carrie,
question.
yeah.
We talked a lot about the pre-treatment process, but this is really, engineering for the end
Yep.
product, the biosolids.
Right, our facility plan still addresses those, and they will come up during our budget cycles as we talk about those. Curtis Thompson, our water resources superintendent, is in the process right now of putting some of those into our 10-year budget cycle. So you'll see some numbers coming in from that, and then we'll deal with that as staff, trying to figure out how to get those put in. But there are some corrections. Pre-treatment will be one of the next areas that we try to conquer.
It's probably not a process change, it's more of a, we gotta put brakes and new tires on this car. And so we're really at that point with a lot of the equipment within the facility.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, last call for questions. I don't see any other questions. The resolution authorizing Bolton and Menk to provide services for preliminary engineering for biosolids improvements appears on pages 46 through 47 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Sharpstrom,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
Next up, Traverse Green, number 3, lot sale plan and policies, and Ben is here to talk to us about that.
All right, thank you, Mayor Noel and members of the council. Like I said in the workshop, let's get ready to sell some lots. So tonight we're actually just looking, starting on page 48 of the packet, where the staff report is to establish some guidelines, a lot sales plan here and policy for phase 3 of Traverse Green. So this is actually scheduled to be open and ready for home construction on July 1st. So if you remember, we're about halfway done with the project where the underground utilities and the grading work took place on Cullen Street here this fall. And then this spring, we'll do the paving work, the curb and gutter, and then the sidewalks, and then just the finished grade work. So everything should hopefully be done here in June, and then we'll be able to have houses constructed beginning this summer. So last fall, we also approved a plat for this area. There was 42 lots that were approved. We also approved the lot prices and the neighborhood design standards. So this is really the only thing left to do. We have Miller Homes that reserved 26 of these lots, so 3 blocks. And the city is responsible for selling the 2 western blocks, or 16 lots. So in phase 1, the council actually had some guidelines similar to this, where on the middle of page 48, it shows the difference between phase 1 and phase 2, based on council discussion on how we want to accept reservation fees and what those should move to. So for phase 3, we'll have a fee of $1,500 that'll last for 6 months, and then the earnest money would be an extra $500. We are going to have so-called Land Rush Day. That'll be the middle of this month on Wednesday, March 26th. We'll allow for people to come in that morning from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock if they're on the reservation list, and then in an orderly fashion, we'll take their application fee and their money, and then put their name down, and they can choose the lot that they want to have. So those on 48 and 49, it kind of shows the details of how that'll play out. So really, this will allow with the lot revenue to be able to pay off the Cullen Street project, those 42 lots in the street that goes in front of it. We'll also have fees that come in for public works fees and building permit fees, and then essentially when all 42 houses are built, we'll have all that property tax revenue coming in as well. On page 50, just shows the abbreviated version of kind of the process that people will go through to reserve a lot, those 5 steps there. And then on page 51 and 52 is the actual policy. On page 53 is last fall what you guys approved for lot sizes and lot prices. And so those maps will be available for people, and that's also going to be online. And then on page 54 is the resolution approving the sales plan and the policies.
All right, questions for Ben? Fred?
So Ben, any thoughts on switching the reservation process to going old school Land Rush? Maybe meeting on Clark Street, handing everyone a steak, and at 8 a.m. making them run to their lot?
That would draw a crowd.
I'm just saying, call the newspaper, call KEYC.
Are we from Oklahoma?
Did you pull out one of your old VHSs and get the old movie of that?
Ben brought that up in the planning and zoning.
Mayor members, I can tell you that in the other subdivisions that you've utilized this process, there have been people waiting at the door to sign up, and it has received some publicity, which helps you market these lots. So we'll see what happens this time, but it has in the past.
It's really exciting. Even without the physical land rush, this will be fun.
I have a question
Carrie.
about that. How has this been publicized? How do people know?
Well, they don't know much yet, but they will know a lot more as we promote this, and then as you've approved the rules. Now we have a date set, now we have what the amounts are, you have the amounts for the lots, and so it's much easier to publicize when we have those facts to be able to attach to it.
So what's the plan?
So there'll be Facebook, it'll be online, as we've done in the past, where people can go to your website and see the lots and what the process is. I have the sneaking suspicion that we'll be pumping it every time we're on the radio or on KUIC, or that those will be the issues. We will also likely send some information to some of the real estate agents that are within your community so that they'll know. There are lots of folks that are watching this, and so my sneaking suspicion is there are a few of them that know what's going on as they've read this packet.
Good.
All right, unless there are any other questions, the resolution approving Traverse Street subdivision number 3 sales plan and policies is on page 54 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpstorm.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thanks, Ben. Thanks to all the staff who've worked on this, including Pete, because we need to get those roads built, to Bolton and Menk, who's doing engineering for us as usual. This is a big project and a really exciting time for St. Peter, so there's a lot of thanks to go around. Moving on to Soda Scoop's loan request.
All right, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. On page 55 there, I'll start on the staff report. We are looking at a loan request tonight. Kai and Emma Sill, they purchased the property at 317 South Minnesota Avenue, which was the former Cheese and Pie Mongers building. And they're currently working on the interior of the building, and they've also done a little bit of repair work to the roof. But they are requesting from the EDA and council a loan request of $4,815 to do the improvements shown on page 55 there, which would be the electrical work, signage, and some painting. They are willing to put down the matching, or the minimum amount of funds, and they're requesting the 90%, which is $4,815 for this particular loan. And the loan terms on the top of page 56 are the amount would be $4,815. At a 0%, it'd be over 5 years, and the monthly payment would be $80.25. So they do have to actually have the work done. Then they submit back their invoices to us, and then we would cut them a check if this is approved. The nice thing about this particular loan and the incentive to go this way is that there is partial loan forgiveness. So in this case, they would be able to, if they made all their payments on time and there wasn't any issues, they could actually pay it off in 2.5 years and pay half the amount. So that's a nice incentive. And we would require some loan security, personal guarantee and mortgage, and those would be required. So the HPC looked at this at the end of January and approved it, and the EDA just looked at this a few weeks ago, and they also approved a loan request. On page 57, it shows the improvements that they're looking at, at the top there. They'll have some gooseneck lightings, a little different color to the top, and the bricks, and some signage, some new signage there. Then the resolution is on page 58.
Thank you. Questions for Ben? Right, hearing no questions, the resolution approving a central business district renovation / accessibility enhancement loan in the amount of $4,815 to Kai and Emma Sill to partially finance renovation improvements at 317 South Minnesota Avenue. Soda Scoops Ice Cream Shop is on page 58 through 59 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, 2025 Accessibility Loan, Accessibility Improvement Grant Program. Ben.
All right, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. On page 60, you'll notice a table there. So this program you have seen annually here for the last 5 years. It's kind of fun to look back and see in 2020 there was 3 applications received, 3 funded, and then you can see the businesses that were awarded. But then as the program progressed, the amount of applications that have come in and the number of awards have been greatly increased. So there actually has been 51 applications received for this program over the last 5 years. The awards from last year, so there was 9 applications, 5 awarded. All 5 of those have actually already been done and submitted for reimbursement and have mostly been recorded at the county. So that's great. You can see on page 61 the budgets and the actual amounts that we've doled out over the years. Over the past 5 years, the EDA and city has awarded $167,866 to 24 different businesses. So just a great program. The timeline for this year's program is that the EDA already looked at this in February. The council would authorize that tonight, and then we already have the letters to go out in the mail tomorrow if it's so approved, and that would get advertised for a while. And then we would receive applications. We'd have a review committee review the applications, and then in May and June do the awards. So we'd come back to you once the review committee had a chance and the ED had a chance to review these, and then select the businesses that they want to do for the 2025 program. So at their meeting, the EDA did recommend approval of this grant program again for 2025. And then with Sally's help, we calculated that there was about $55,000 worth of interest made on a revolving loan fund last year. So that's essentially what the budget is for this program going forward this year. Otherwise, the resolution's on the following page, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you had any.
Questions for Ben? Brad?
I remember when John Kwame actually in 2019 approached the EDA about this, made a very impassioned plea, and it was really on behalf of his fellow council member, Steve Grams. We just had his funeral today. Anyway, I think this program has been a resounding success. as Steve would say, we're all going to be disabled at some point. And so even though these doors may not be helping us now, in the future, we might be very thankful that these were in here. I know last year, we went in a little bit of different direction with one of them as the estate apartments. I think that was a very good decision at the time, particularly considering how far under budget we were. And just, I think, keeping an open mind on the projects this year, I think it's important that we do. Todd will tell you, he's had people ask us how we do this program. I think this is something we can really be proud of.
This is a very unique program. We're unaware of any other communities that do this type of thing in Minnesota. And as Ben illustrated in his memo, in excess of 10% of people within our community today are disabled to the extent that mobility is impaired. And so that's a business driver. If we can get those 10% of customers into those businesses, that's fantastic. Helping everyone.
Carrie?
I was on the EDA in 2019, and I remember we were looking at a report that a citizen put together, Eileen Holtz, and she had pictures and just really capturing how challenging it was to get around in a wheelchair or with limited mobility to the businesses in St. Peter, and what an impact that has on economic development. And just to see this list kind of chipping away at it over these years, with 24 businesses, that's huge. And when you walk around our community and you see those buttons for the automatic doors, places where you didn't see that before, it's pretty incredible. And this is something we can be proud of. And thanks to Eileen, and thanks to Steve Grams, and thanks to John Kwame for all really pushing for this, and for the creativity of city staff and figuring out how to make this work, because it's truly profound and has had a huge impact in our community.
If I can.
Yeah.
Council should take lots of credit for this. This is an idea that was generated as a part of a goal-setting session before it came to the EDA. And so council members helped generate this idea to improve the community, and it shows that processes help you. And again, it's worked very well, as you all illustrated.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing nothing further, the resolution authorizing the 2025 ADA Accessibility Improvement Grant Program appears on pages 62 through 63 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis?
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom?
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos?
Aye.
Mayor Noel?
Aye. The resolution is approved. Thanks so much, Ben.
Thank you.
We are now moving on to our last item of new business, Community Center lease for SP3C.
Mayor, members, the information is included in your packet and starts on page 64. This happens to be the last of the series of tenant leases to come to you. The goal of this lease is to continue to lease to St. Peter Community Child Care Center. The lease would be retroactive to January 1st. A couple of things that you should note: there are a couple of extra payments that are included in here that are paying off their loan as well in January and February. That's why you'll see an additional $1,000 for January. And forgive me, I don't remember the amount for February. It's $240 or something like that, which they've agreed to. The lease is included in your packet. The changes or modifications to the fee or lease amounts are substantially similar to what you have done with other tenants within the building. I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have. This provides for a lease through the end of the 2029 calendar year.
All right, questions for Todd? Brad?
So I've already told Todd and the mayor this. I'm going to respectfully move that we table this for discussion at a workshop. The consequences of tabling this are incredibly minimal. The lease continues to go month to month, and it will give us an opportunity to discuss, as has been previously disclosed, when SP3C acquired substantial space at this community center back in 2017 as part of an RFP process. They committed to providing 20 infant spaces. It increased them from 12 infant spaces to 20. They beat out, the SP3C beat out Kids Corner, who actually offered more school-age spaces and more preschool spaces, but SP3C offered infant and toddler spaces. SP3C at the time was at 12 infant spaces before increasing to 20. they have now decreased down to 10 infant spaces. So the city is actually at a deficit of 2 infant spaces from before they even moved into here. So what I would like to do is to table this for discussion at a workshop. Reading their letter, I could go through it. Just basically, one of the first things to point out in their letter is their explanation as to why they did it is they made a decision in 2021 to make this decision while we were still in the pandemic. And they've reviewed their decision in 2024 and they've just decided to stick with it, regardless of the previous commitments that the organization made. Couple of things, information that had been left out when trying to justify this. They point out that they have averaging 2 to 3 calls per week for school age information, 2 to 3 calls per day for preschool. If you'll note, there is no indication of how many calls per week or per day they're getting for infants. I don't think that's an accident that that information was left out. And as well, infant spaces are the hardest space to find. For example, as far as replacing them from a home child care center, you need 5 home child care centers to replace 10 infant spaces. For 10 school age spaces, that could be taken in 1 home child care center. Yes, school age care is difficult at times, but it is easier to find school age. I've been through it with 2 children, and working around, it is easier to work around for school age than it is for infant. And this is about commitments. A commitment was made in acquiring this space to provide 20 infant slots. The city council made a decision based off of the amount of slots being provided at that young end versus a significantly larger amount at the school age. And if, I'll be honest with you, if I'm Kids Corner and this would be permitted to proceed, I would be irate, because Kids Corner was offering more infant spots. They weren't offering any toddler spots. That's what SB3C came through with. Kids Corner lost out on their space because of the fact that SB3C offered more in the younger area. SB3C is now offering fewer spaces than Kids Corner would have increased theirs by. This is not a matter of resources. SB3C currently, as of the end of 2023 on their 990, had $350,000 in the bank. From perspective, when I was treasurer there and then doing their bookkeeping, when we got up to $100,000 in the bank, we felt like we were on easy street. It came a long way from when I started as treasurer and we had $1,700 in the bank. So I'm not asking to vote no on this lease. What I am asking is that we just table the lease for discussion to indicate to discuss what our priorities would be in the situation. If we say yes to this lease tonight, this is a 3-year lease, similar to what we've talked about with Scholarship America. These are decisions that will last for years. Tabling this for discussion at a future workshop, all it does is defer the decision. The 3% monthly increase is not a significant amount, and as I say, the lease is just going month to month at this point anyway, so there's no chance. It's not like they're going to be out just because we don't renew the lease tonight. So with that, I move that we table this agenda item for discussion at a workshop.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it. I think it's not a bad idea to discuss this at a workshop.
We have a second, so we can have further discussion. Carrie?
I'm hesitant to table just because I think they may have, SB3C as an organization may have made that commitment back then. However, I can understand business decisions change with leadership and their board turnover, but also what I read from the letter and what I've heard is that it was a business decision. You get more bang for your buck with pre-K, and I think their influx of cash really related to what subsidies they were getting throughout the pandemic. I think for them it was likely a business decision, and the lease is no different than any other leasee in our building. So I think it's hard to sort of press them to say, you must have these infant care slots. I want them to have as many infant care slots as possible, but I can understand how their business decision may have changed since that time. And also what we're hearing at the Child Care Task Force is just the regulations, the staffing. There's so many barriers to providing infant care right now. And so I guess I'm hesitant to move to table.
Dustin, did I see your hand?
No, but I mean,
Okay.
I don't have strong feelings either way. I would prefer, if we are going to discuss this and discuss the inner workings of a lease, I would like to put that into a workshop and not in an open meeting here. A lot of these decisions obviously predated my time on the council.
I'd like to give others a chance to talk,
No
but
problem.
we can
Yep.
come back to you.
Absolutely.
Did anybody else? I think I'll just chime in. I think we should discuss this further, whether or not we vote to table it today. I think, as Councilmember DeVos noted, it would be minimal impact on the day-to-day operations of SPC 3C. But I guess my desire, I'd like to talk about it from a lens of what is reasonable oversight is maybe not the right word, of us over the businesses that we lease space to. I understand that there was an RFP process. Are we and they beholden to decisions that were made by a different council, 8 years ago? I think that now is an opportune time to talk about that, because we will likely be having another RFP process, and so I think some shared sense of what is reasonable for individual or organizations rather that go through an RFP process would be helpful for us as a council, totally apart from this discussion. So that's my 2 cents. Brad?
Oh, I was just going to say, I agree with Councilmember Johnson that it was a business decision that was made, because absolutely school age is more profitable than infant care. So I do agree with that. So.
All right, if there's no further discussion, the motion before us right now is a motion to table. So we'll do a roll call for that.
You can do a voice vote if you choose. You can also call for roll call if you want,
I
Madam
think
Mayor.
roll call is gonna be a little more clear, so we have an accurate count.
All right. Councilmember Pettis?
No.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom?
No.
Councilmember DeVos?
Aye.
Mayor Noel?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
No.
Yep,
Motion
that fails
to
a
table
tie, is a
fails.
failure.
All right, so we are back to the original motion, which is the resolution that appears on page 76 of the packet, approving execution of renewal of a lease with St. Peter Community Child Care Center for rooms in the community center. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom?
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos?
No.
Mayor Noel?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis?
Aye.
The resolution passes. Now we will move on to reports. And the first up is the report of the mayor. I just want to take a moment, as was referenced earlier in our meeting, to acknowledge the passing of former council member Steve Grams. Steve served on the St. Peter City Council from 2013 to 2021, and I had the privilege of serving alongside him from December 2019 till the end of his last term. Steve was a dedicated public service known for his good humor, his perseverance, and unwavering advocacy for accessibility. Steve led by example, ensuring that our community was more accessible and welcoming for all. His ability to connect with people, break down barriers, and approach challenges with determination was truly inspiring. On behalf of myself and the city, I extend my deepest condolences to his family and all who knew and loved him. Steve's impact on our community will not be forgotten. I don't know, Carrie and Brad also served with Steve. I don't know if you have anything you want to add. You both made great statements during the discussion of the accessibility loan program.
I think you did an excellent job. I don't have anything to add to that. Steve was, I'll just add, Steve was a funny guy. I mean, that was one thing, that the humor of him going back and forth with him is one of the things I actually remember the most. He could light up, he could light up a go-to meeting, even though we were all separate, and so I think the humor, that was, Todd can acknowledge that was one of the common things brought up today, was just Steve's humor, and so that's the thing that I think we should remember.
And I think it was, I really enjoyed reading his obituary, and I don't know if he wrote it, but it sounded like he had a hand in that, and he was pretty humble and didn't necessarily speak to all of his public service, but he's done a lot of things outside of the council, and you know, just for an example, serving with the co-op, and I'm gonna miss, you know, seeing him and his wife, and his wife will be around, I know, but just the two of them together were just incredible people in our community, and we're gonna miss Steve a lot.
I just miss hearing Steve. He had a very notable voice. If you heard him in the building, you knew that was Steve and probably nobody else. So, and Todd, you got to work with Steve for longer than any of the rest of us. If you wanted to add anything.
I just appreciate the comments, and it was great to be at the service today and at the graveside today for Steve and his family. I think it was written in the obituary. He had, and this might sound contradictory, but he had a grumpy sense of humor, and it was great. So anyway, long service, so lucky to have people serve in this capacity.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was my only report this evening. There is time for council members to make reports. I'll pick on Dustin and Brad in particular.
I somehow have two, which I don't believe has happened. In the past 3 weeks, I've actually been to the state capitol now twice on behalf of the city, and I also was out in Washington, D.C. representing us at the American Public Power Association conference. I'll start with the APPA conference. We were there representing SIMPA. It was Representative Ramp and I and Pete. Pete was our leader of the trip, and we were there to specifically speak on our energy and infrastructure needs. We were able to meet with both Senators Tina Smith and Amy Klobuchar, and the two main areas that we focused in on was maintaining that local bond projects are tax exempt, and then making sure that municipalities can directly purchase under the Inflation Reduction Act and Infrastructure Act. Both of the senators overwhelmingly agreed with us, gave us 100% their support. Then we met with Representative Finstad in his office with just the SIMPA group, and we shared the same general platform. And Representative Finstad told us that at this point in time, everything is on the table, and that he cannot commit to any of our platforms because his priority is reducing the deficit. We reiterated that if you do make it so local bonds are taxable, you will end up costing all of your municipalities and school districts more money in local taxes. So that point was made. Hopefully it resonated. So, second trip to the state capitol for the League of Minnesota Cities Day. That was actually Mayor Noel, Representative DeVos, and myself. We were able to meet with both Nick Frentz and Erica Schwartz. Again, we emphasized our Gorman Park project, and Nick's support has not wavered on that. He's already got it signed to be put into the bonding bill. Representative Schwartz indicated to us that she is supportive of it, and she will be signing on to it. And Nick's staff is going to go and work with her staff to make sure that everything is signed and hopefully put in the bonding bill. And if we have a bonding bill, we'd love to see Gorman Park in it.
Yeah. Anything to add, Brad, from the visit?
I think, well, number one, it was an epic road trip with the mayor.
Got separate.
Got her up there and back safely, so I'm continuing my career as mayor's chauffeur.
Thank you.
But I think Dustin hit it well. Our discussion with Erica Schwartz, it was brief. She did commit to supporting the Gorman Park project. The emphasis of signing it, we got that in there, but it had to be repeated. I agree. The meeting with Senator Frentz, much more optimistic. I felt a lot better about the Gorman Park and the bonding project after talking to Senator Frentz. I think if there is a bonding project this year, I'm much more optimistic after that meeting that Gorman Park will be in there, and even if we don't get all of what we want, we should get something of what we're looking for. Otherwise, that's about it. So.
The only thing I'll add is my thanks to Representative Schwartz and Senator Frentz for their time. It's a very busy time at the Capitol, and they've got a lot of demands on their time, and so appreciate them taking time to visit with us when we were up there, and hope that they'll be able to meet us here in St. Peter soon for further discussion. So, anything else, other reports from council members? All right, kick it over to Todd.
Mayor members, I have 3 items, one of which is listed on the agenda. That's a time change for the workshop next week. As you know, it happens to be St. Patrick's Day, and a number of you are occupied, at least for a little bit, as a part of the St. Patrick's Day celebration. So I'm proposing that workshop start at 6 o'clock rather than 5:30. So it's 6 o'clock rather than 5:30. In addition, I'd like to, and there's a lot of things, a lot of people for us to thank and send kudos to, but I do want to mention the rec department and the library for the authors series with William Kent Kruger. What a fantastic event at the PAC at the high school. I think it was packed. And so what a wonderful event, and to be able to have an author with that number of books sold under their belt and come and talk about the theory of that and how that works and the writing process, and all of those things are just fantastic. So great for your team and great for the community, and again, collaboration with the school district on facilities and all of those things. The last thing I'd like to mention, Madam Mayor, members, is that the Transit Board, MRVT, Minnesota River Valley Transit, has a meeting tomorrow at 2:30 in LeSueur. It's their every other month meeting, and so we just want to make people aware that that's going on, and that transit is such an important service within our community, and that's the board that helps keep the wheels turning. So thanks for the folks that serve on that board, again, in LeSueur at 2:30 tomorrow. Madam Mayor, that's the last item I have.
Carol, did you have something?
Thank you.
Let's see. I guess if that's it.
That's all we have,
We're
Madam
just
Mayor.
having so much fun. I hesitate to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor of adjournment say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.